Have you ever met that person who is just a brilliant strategist, a master of systems and logic, who builds these incredible, loyal teams, but at the same time you can just feel they're under this immense internal pressure? Well, today we're diving into a really fascinating and complex personality archetype from Ziwei Shu. It's this powerful blend of strategic genius and, yeah, some hidden emotional conflict. Let's unpack this together.
I mean, this quote just paints such a vivid picture, doesn't it? It gets right to the heart of the paradox. You've got this leader, all geared up in the armor of logic and procedure, fighting this incredibly tough battle. But the key to victory, the only way to win, isn't more control. It's about genuine human connection.
So what's going on here? What creates this leader who's walking a tightrope, this master planner, who is also so emotionally conflicted? Let's break down the actual forces at play that create this powerful dynamic. Okay, here's our game plan. First, we're going to profile this tightrope walking strategist. Then, we'll break down the 4 key forces that make them who they are. After that, we'll get into the clash between their mind and their heart, run a full SWOT analysis, and finally, figure out the winning paths to actually finding some balance.
All right, let's start with the big picture. This personality isn't just one thing. It's a really dynamic combo of competing energies. And that creates this high-stakes balancing act between incredible capability and some pretty significant personal challenges.
So, at its core, this archetype is built on 4 pillars. You've got the sharp mind of a strategist, the orderly control of someone who loves to build systems, the warmth that creates real team harmony, and then this deep internal pressure that comes from having super strict principles. It's how these 4 things mix and mingle that creates both their greatest strengths, and you guessed it, their most profound challenges.
To really get it, we need to look at each of these 4 forces one by one. Think of them like the building blocks. Understanding each piece is absolutely crucial to seeing the whole picture. So let's start with the first one.
First up, we have Tianji Quan. You can think of this as the strategist's power-up. It takes all that natural intelligence and flexibility and turbocharges it into decisive action. This is the chess master who sees 10 moves ahead. It's the entrepreneur who can pivot the whole company overnight to grab a new opportunity. This is the source of their sharp, strategic mind.
Next, we've got Wen Chong Kei, the system architect. This force is all about boosting rational thinking and order. This is the part of them that just loves a good spreadsheet, a well-organized project plan, and clear SOPs. It's how they build their professional reputation, by creating these clear logical systems and rules for everyone to follow. This is the armor our strategist wears.
Now for the third force, Tian Tong Lu, the team builder's charm. This energy is what amplifies kindness, harmony, and just good fortune in relationships. It's the manager who remembers everyone's birthday, the leader whose team genuinely likes working together. This force creates this natural charisma that just pulls people in and builds really supportive, tight-knit teams.
And finally, we get to the most challenging piece of the puzzle. Li Jin-ji, the pressure cooker. This one takes principles and discipline and pushes them to the absolute extreme. We're talking about rigid self-discipline here. This is the CEO who works 80-hour weeks and just assumes everyone else should too, or the perfectionist who just can't let a tiny mistake slide. It often leads to bottling up emotions and, well, a whole lot of internal conflict.
So now that we have the 4 pieces, let's see what happens when they all get thrown into the same pot. This is where that brilliant, logical mind goes head-to-head with a deeply conflicted emotional core. It's a true game of mind versus heart.
This slide just lays it out so clearly, right? On one side, you have the Chief of Staff's wisdom. That's Tianji Quan's strategy combined with Wen Chongkei's systems. It creates this intellectual fortress. It's logical, powerful, and totally under control. But on the other side, you have this tug of war. The pure joy from Tian Tong Lu's team harmony is constantly fighting against the internal pressure and rigidity from Lian Zhenji. It creates an emotional battlefield. And this is the core tension right here.
So, how does this internal tug-of-war actually show up in the real world? Let's put this personality under the microscope with a good old-fashioned SWOT analysis. This will help us understand their greatest assets and, of course, their biggest vulnerabilities.
And this analysis really reveals the 2 sides of the coin. Just take a second here. Look at the strengths: masterful strategy, clear systems, great teams. These are incredible assets. But now look at the weaknesses. They're the direct shadow of those strengths. The strategist becomes cold and overly rational. The systems become rigid. That self-discipline leads to emotional suppression. So the opportunities for them are huge. They can build amazing things. But the crises are just as big if those weaknesses take over, leading to alienated teams, burnout, and ultimately failure.
Let's make this real with a quick case study. Imagine a manager with this profile. They're facing a market that's changing like crazy. Their gut instinct, driven by that love for order and need for control, is to double down on the old procedures. They control every single detail and refuse to delegate. So what happens? Of course, the team's creativity is completely crushed, the project stalls, and the manager burns out from trying to do everything themselves. It's the classic trap of their own strength.
Okay, so how do you win this game? How do you walk this tightrope without falling off? Well, the good news is, the solution is actually found within the four forces themselves. It's all about learning to use your strengths to manage your weaknesses.
The winning path is all about conscious balance. It means deliberately using that team-building energy from Tian Tong Lu to fight back against the isolating, rigid pressure from Lian Zhenji. You use your natural charm to build trust, which then makes it possible to delegate. It means using the strategic flexibility of Tianji Quan to know when the rules need to bend. The whole key is to make sure your systems are serving you, like a protective shield, not a rigid prison that chokes out growth and connection.
And that brings us right back to where we started. Ultimately, the path to success for this brilliant but burdened person isn't found in a smarter strategy or an even stricter system. Nope, it's found in vulnerability and connection. It's about having the courage to take off that heavy helmet of logic and control and just connect with the people who have your back.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question. We all have elements of strategy, system, harmony, and pressure in our own lives. So where do you see this balancing act playing out for you? Does any of this feel familiar? Is there a tightrope walking strategist living inside you?